Hello dear readers. Today, we will be drifting together on the high seas off the coast of Japan, where modern fishing boats are quietly casting their nets in the quiet night. The brave fishermen, facing the wind and rough waves day and night, are starting a large-scale fishing trip, an hour-long search for smelt and cod in the cold ocean. And it is truly impossible to float. With just a net, they pull up tons of fish, plump cod, shiny smelt weighing hundreds of kilograms. And a whole deck full of fresh fish, silvery white in the early morning sun. Follow this journey, where courage, visibility and modern fishing technology meet harsh nature, to create the most dramatic moments of Japanese fishing. A piece of net can change the whole trip. Once relaxed in the net, they earned a fortune. And now, I invite you to enter that true story. It was still dark. In addition, the ship's bubble could be as quiet as a footnote to the steel fish drifting on the cold sea. The wind blew gently against the ship's side, but inside the control deck, the yellow lights were still shining brightly. The clock struck 3 a.m., and the intercom sounded briefly but meaningfully, standard arranged according to the network. The sailors immediately got out of bed, put on their specialized jackets to protect against water and cold wind. They had gotten used to this rhythm of life. There was no concept of day or night. Only the rhythm of netting, pulling net, sorting, freezing, and repeating. The industrial machinery at sea began to operate. Hundreds of meters of net began to be dropped. This type of net was extremely durable, specially designed to withstand the pulling force of tons of fish. We were leisurely in a circle, scanning the deep water where the sonar had detected a large gathering of fish. The buoys shimmered with the waves, marking the place where the net was completed. Time only waited. This trip has lasted for 5 days. Every day, they caught several tons of fish. But today's catch was a record. The captain laughed loudly. This catch is probably equal to the last 3 days combined. He raised his thumb, his eyes deeply wrinkled by the sea wind but still shining with genuine joy. Someone jokingly asked, "How much does each of these string fish sell for at the Tokyo market?" A fisherman immediately answered, "About 3 yen per kilo. There are fish that weigh nearly 20 kilos. Multiply that. That means one fish can be up to 60 yen, equivalent to nearly 10 million Vietnamese dongs. Just a full catch like today. The boat has earned hundreds of millions of yen. Every time a big fish is lifted, there is a cheer from the crew. That joy is not only because of the economic value, but also an affirmation of the skills, experience and technology that they possess. Not everyone can cast their nets and pull up hundreds of sardines and cod at once. Each tray of fish is packed into a large styrofoam box, clearly marked with the date and time of catch, GPS coordinates, size, and type of fish. All are coded to ensure traceability when sold to the mainland. The qualified fish will be sent straight to high-end sushi restaurants. The rest will be sent to the frozen processing plant. By noon, the deck is clean. The nets have been rolled up. The machines have been maintained. All that remains is the freezer compartment full of fish and tired hands. But no one complains. They sit against the ship's wall, drinking hot tea, eating boxed lunches. Everyone's face is radiant. It is a joy that cannot be bought with money, the joy of the fruits of labor. After finishing sorting and freezing, the fishermen quickly wash the deck with high-pressure seawater. Pieces of fish blood, scales and seabed mud were washed away. leaving a gleaming deck, ready for the next catch. Meanwhile, the sonar technician had returned to his monitor. He was intently watching the signals emitted from the deep water, looking for signs of a new school of fish. The captain walked in, holding a cup of hot coffee, his eyes as sharp as if he had experienced 100 storms. "There's another school to the southwest. Very large," he said, briefly and decisively, with just a nod from him. The entire ship, like a synchronized machine, began moving again, cutting through the waves towards the school of fish 6 nautical miles away. The afternoon sea was still calm, but everyone knew that the peace was only a temporary lull between storms. Japanese fishermen always viewed the sea as a living being with a soul, sometimes pleasant, sometimes fierce, sometimes gentle, sometimes angry, and in that ambiguous relationship, they lived on the sea, but also knew how to fear and be grateful for the deep sea. On the way to the new destination, the fishermen had some time to rest. Some mended torn nets, others sharpened worn fish-cutting knives. Another group cooked hot noodles, eating them with raw eggs, a familiar dish in the cold sea. At the makeshift table, they talked about their families, about this year's fishing season, and about previous trips. When they had struggled in snowstorms to keep the ship balanced when it was tilting because of the big waves. Soon, the ship reached the mark. This time, the sonar signal indicated a dense fish population, not just cod and stringers, but also several other rare species. The captain decided to use a deep-sea seine, a special type of net that can capture the entire school of fish from above, like a giant underwater trap. The netting process began as the sunset glowed red on the horizon. The scene of the net dropping looked like an art performance. Each giant net, hundreds of meters long, was released into the water rhythmically, like a curtain hanging from the sky to the seabed. The positioning buoys were released in a chain, forming an arc more than 500 meters wide, completely enclosing the school of fish below. Now it was time to wait. The ship slowed down. Moving along the perimeter of the net, making sure no fish escaped. The waiting time lasted nearly an hour, while the sonar continuously recorded the movement signals of the fish inside the enclosure. When it was determined that the school of fish was contained, the main crane started working, lifting the bottom of the net, slowly closing it like the mouth of a giant bag. From afar, people could see water splashing up. The school of fish began to jump out of the water, each one, trying to escape but to no avail. On deck, the crew was ready, standing in position, holding nets, hooks and anti-slip shoes. The stringers and cod often moved in large schools, hunting in the middle water or surveying the seabed. The ship's sonar equipment would continuously monitor the signal to ensure the net's position was optimal. In the control room, the sailors looked at the radar screen. Nodding gently, yes, ready to pull out. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the whole ship seemed to wake up. The sailors stepped out onto the deck, stretching their muscles, ready for the hardest part, netting. The net reeling machine began to operate with a heavy whirring sound. Below deck, the crane automatically turned on. Each wet section of net was pulled up, the net spinning quickly, making a quiet, clack sound. And then, the most anticipated moment arrived. The first school of fish. A series of cod were caught in the net. their silver bodies burning under the light, velvety on the water surface and then lifted into the air before dropping the bag onto the deck. Immediately, a group of sailors used iron hooks and brought the fish to the sorting bin. The remaining fish struggled, their heavy bodies hitting the deck. The air was filled with the salty smell of the sea and the fresh fishy smell of raw fish. The string fish appeared this time. Unlike the cod, the string fish had long bodies, dark colors, sharp and post-war. Some were nearly a meter long and weighed more than 20 kilograms. People in the profession called them ocean warriors. Because catching a batch was very difficult, they often dodged the net very quickly. But today, perhaps the sea god was laughing. Full grid, fully capable of screeching like arrangements. A strong jerk. The sound of the spool rang out. The tractor had to slow down to avoid overloading. A fast-moving crew of fishermen needed some extra help. From the sea, a dark mass of fish emerged, a vivid moving picture of the ocean. On deck, everyone exhaled. Then, with a rub, the entire hive hit the deck. Fish spilled out, sliding over the sailors' supports. Owls on their feet, spraying water everywhere. The workers were divided into 3 groups. The first group was the cull. The best cod were put into a separate area, so heavy that they needed a new one. The second group cut the gills, draining the fish of blood to keep the meat fresher longer. The remaining group took the fish to the deep freeze compartment, where the temperature could drop to -40°C, enough to keep the fish on board for weeks. As the mouth of the net was pulled out of the water, the scene before my eyes was like a beautiful ocean nightmare. Thousands of fish were being lifted from the sea. Struggling desperately, forming a living, chaotic wall of water, scales, and screens. Cod dominated the scene, long bodies, bulging bellies, open mouths. There were scads mixed in, long and powerful, thrashing their tails against the net as if trying to tear the rope apart. This haul was even larger than the first. The net was so heavy that the crane had to stop periodically to avoid overloading. Once again, the fish were brought up on deck. In waves of fish, flooding in, sliding down the deck like waves of flesh and bone. The deck had become a mobile seafood market, men shouting, fish struggling, machinery whirring. The fishermen acted like a team, each one knew his job. Some cut the gills, some gutted the fish, some weighed and sorted them. Everyone worked in silence, with only the wind and the clanking of metal. Sweat mixed with salty seawater on their faces, and an unspeakable satisfaction. By midnight, when all the fish had been trayed and put into the cold hold, the sailors began cleaning up. Some took turns taking quick hot showers, a rare luxury in the frigid ocean. In the living quarters, the oldest man on the ship pulled out a small flute he had brought with him and played an Okinawan folk song, creating an unusually peaceful atmosphere. The music echoed across the ocean, reminding those listening of home, a place with yellow lights, warm meals and loved ones waiting. Some took pictures of the fish to send to their wives and children, boasting that they had hit the jackpot today. Some just silently wrote in their travel diaries, recording the quantity, location of the catch, wind and wave conditions and their own mood. Japanese fishermen are not only sea laborers, they are also the ones who preserve the memories of the sea. From the time the sea is still dark, until the red sunset spreads across the horizon, those hard-working people still work hard with each net, each box of fish, each drop of sweat falling on the cold deck. A day at sea is not measured by hours, but by how many fish are pulled up, how many nets are dropped, and how much silent effort has been poured into each of those salty moments. The journey to catch hundreds of sardines and cod is not only a story of technique and strength. It is a story of faith in experience, in each other, and in the sea. Each fish brought up not only carries economic value, but is also a worthy reward for the courage and perseverance of the sons of the sea. When the ship turns its bow towards the mainland, behind the deck is a packed fish hold, the result of days and nights of hard work. But ahead are the smiles of family, hot meals, and peaceful sleep without the waves, even though they know that in a few days, they will set sail again, because the sea never waits, and because they, the fishermen, were born to live with the sea, love the sea, and cannot leave the sea. Thank you for joining us on our journey far out at sea today. If you find this video meaningful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to spread the beautiful images of the lives of Japanese fishermen in the vast ocean. We will be back with new stories, new ships, and other wonderful people around the world. See you in the next videos. Goodbye and good health.